Tonight's topic is Max Freedom Long. Max Freedom Long was involved with resuming the studies of the ancient kahuna of Hawaii. And sometimes he had to use a lot of intuition to gather his information. Do you use intuition? When can you use it? How can you use it? We'll get to those shortly.
Hi, I'm somebody else. I don't know nothing about Hawaii, but in planet Draconis, we also have kahunas. They've got big kahunas in Draconis.
Okay, it's Bob Frizzell, and I'm going to tell you about what the kahunas believe. The kahunas believe that there is no separation between you and God. No separation. It is fully within you, fully without you. So, what does that really mean in real life? It means if you have beliefs in your subconscious mind, or even in your conscious mind, that contradict that, you are not going to be experiencing total health. So, you have to root out things in your conscious belief and things in your subconscious belief which are not working for you. These things Sigmund Freud called complexes. Humans are full of complexes because we're very complex. So how do you get to the simplicity of it all? Silence, inner silence. Don Juan Matus, the Mexican shaman, always said you must have inner silence. Silence is definitely God. What do you do after that? That's the next lecture. Okay, the next talk is about faith and trust. How can you have faith? How can you have trust? It's called letting go. Letting go. Who doesn't let go? All right, Bob Burrows from down under, Thunder Down Under. People often ask, well, if English is such a good language, why don't we try French or something? In other words, different languages for different folks, different ways of expressing oneself. What's that got to do with truth and faith? You gotta have truth and you gotta have faith regardless of your language. Okay, so the next part is the Hawaiian teachings are that there are three parts to a human. A high self, very wise, a middle self, which is the normal conscious person, and the low self, which is sometimes called the subconscious. The low person would be maybe what you call muscle memory. So when you learn to ride a bike, after you know how to ride a bike, you always know how to ride a bike. The middle self has got to be cleansed of all of its incorrect ideas so that it can teach the low self, the subconscious, the correct things. If the subconscious doesn't want to learn the correct things, then we got a lot of trouble. But riding a bike just takes practice. So you have to keep practicing with your subconscious mind to create what you want. All right, it's Bob Ross here. Now, it's Christopher Isherwood. As you know, I'm a playwright, and I've been checking into certain plays to see if something can be of use, to try and explain it to you in the form of a movie, for example. Now, if you were going to expect me to give you the perfect movie, I can't. There's too many movies and they really don't give me what I want, which is the idea that a person is three parts. So how's this going to work? Time and again we wonder, what could be a good movie to give you an idea? I'm looking way back to the 1950s. A story about perhaps Tibet. Shambhala. And in this movie, someone goes on a long quest. And the quest is to get to Shambhala, where everything's perfect. And the people there are perfect. And you'll live forever as an immortal. Lost Horizon is this movie and book by James Hilton. Might be difficult to find this movie because it's an old one, but if you do some digging, you might turn it up on the internet somewhere, or you might get a hold of the book. That's all I'm going to give you for now. Oh, one more thing. Other ideas I have about reaching some kind of perfection.
Hi, I'm another person, so I'm going to tell you a story. A long time ago, when I was young, I forgot my pants and I went to school wearing my underwear. Everyone laughed. That's an idea. If you want to get really in touch with making your subconscious go with what you have to tell it, you gotta make it laugh. The subconscious loves to have fun. So, if you're very stern, like a father figure, you're telling, your subconscious, we're not going to have any fun because this is how we're going to be. And it ain't going to work. So, fun, laughter, singing, performing, being a bit of a goof, these are ways your subconscious is going to have fun. How many movies do we know about having fun? Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a good idea of a really fun movie. I'm going to see if I can turn up some other interesting ones for you. So the item in question is, how do you get your prayers answered? In the Hawaiian school, you have got to send energy to God. What? Isn't God all-powerful? God needs physical energy to do stuff in the physical world. So, if God is a spirit, very wise, it has to have something from you in order to make something wise happen. And you, as the conscious middle self of the three-part self of the Hawaiians, have got to convince your subconscious or low self to send a telepathic prayer to the high self. Remember, all of us are spirits. The low self, the middle self, and the high self are all spirits. But the low self is the one that has the direct connection to the high self. So it must send its request, what it wants, which hopefully you've trained it well to ask for good things. And it has to send a jolt of energy to the high self, when the high self will be able to work with that. How does this happen? Keep your low self happy. Keep yourself enjoyment. And the other thing that they always say is do a lot of breathing. Conscious breathing is a very good way to raise the energy that you need to send to the high self. This is all according to the Hawaiian doctrines. What other doctrines could we fall back on to confirm this? In Christianity, you have the three-part God. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, for example. So the idea that there's three in one, also comes into play there. If you're going to make it work, making it work takes a little stronger, making it work. Yeah. Anyways, that's the next part of your lecture. Thank you. Now, Haile Makua, a Hawaiian elder, said that there is an ancestral grand plan. For what? For organizing planet Earth. And to bring this into fruition, well, that's what we need to get our low selves involved in. Basically, the ancestral grand plan has got to be a lot of fun. Otherwise, the low self is not going to go along with it. Who knows about the ancestral grand plan? Oh, the high selves. The godlike selves know all about this. So it's not like we have to, come up with the ancestral grand plan. We just have to have faith that it's there and we want it implemented. So that's basically why we go to inner silence once we have given our request for the low self to say, yeah, we're on board for this kind of thing. Inner silence means we're just resting and watching. And then every once in a while, we might say, okay, well, send that prayer again. And we're all one thing, and low self can hear you. Is it doing it? Well, the low self might have some problems with you if in the past you told it some stupid things. It might not trust you. That's the biggest issue between the middle self and the low self. Trust issues. Because all of us have had many instances where we've done stupid things to other people and to ourselves. So, how are you going to get the low self to relax and trust you with your new ideas? It's got to be a lot of forgiveness work. And that is where the Hooponopono comes from, which is another Hawaiian technique, which is basically a lot of forgiveness. A lot of looking back in the past to see old hurts where the low self was hurt or it saw others hurt. If you're going to follow Hooponopono, anything that you see that you don't like, you basically want to say, well, it's happening in my environment and I'm really sorry about it. There's other things that you can say, but mostly, honestly feeling like I'm really sorry that happened. I'll leave it to you to check out Hooponopono. There's lots of information on the internet about that. Make sure that you're not asking for selfish things for yourself. There's been a lot of problems where people have been trying to manifest stuff for themselves. That's not the ancestral grand plan. It's not for you to get. It's for a group effort, for all of humanity and all of the planet. So if you're very self-centered, you're really going at cross purposes to the ancestral grand plan. And then you're going to have to work on forgiveness from your low self who is not too pleased with, but it's not really pleased. I mean, you give it all kinds of fancy cars and fancy houses, but it understands English. And then when it watches the news and it hears about all the horrible that goes on, who's it going to blame? It's going to blame you, the middle self, the consciousness. Well, you say, I didn't do 9/11. It knows. The low self knows. It's a knower. It knows all about the activities of conscious humans and all the nasty tricks that have been done. How are you going to convince the low self that, well, that's not part of your plan? You're going to have to be pretty much honest with it and say, look, I didn't know. I didn't know about all these horrible things, how they came about, but when I found out about it, I told you. Why am I talking about 9/11? Well, because, in my opinion, it was an inside job. It was done by the elite. And, there's plenty of people that don't believe that was the case. They believe that it was terrorists from Saudi Arabia. But the low self is a knower. It knows. It might not tell you what it knows, but it knows the truth. So a lot of truth has got to come up in a lot of people in order to clear the past of all the horrible in human history. That's why we have disclosure about everything, and there's still way too much secrecy. The public doesn't know the truth about so many things. We don't trust the politicians, that we've got that far, but we don't know how far the rot goes. Where does this lead? We need more information. We need more people to get curious, because a lot of people have put all this stuff to bed and don't worry about it. But this stuff is still human karma that has to get fixed. A lot of good deeds have got to happen to counteract all the nasty. And we still see every day on the news horrible things happening to people and to the environment. Where are you going to get your curiosity? You're going to have to go back to when you were a child. Children are very curious about things. Adults quite often lose curiosity and they build up defenses. This is the way it is, and I'm not going to even examine my beliefs. So many just go through their day. Yeah, I know, whatever. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I hear that so much. I don't want to know. Yes, you do. You need to know. You need to know about what's going on this planet. The low self, the child aspect of you as a human, I said, knows. It knows everything. So its biggest problem from a child is guilt, because it, along with all the other low selves, was forced to participate in the horrors of human history, all the bad things. So guilt is the complex we primarily have to deal with children. Child aspect of yourself. Forgiveness we must teach for all. If you are going to hold people accountable for all the horrible things that have been going on, you're not teaching forgiveness. So it means that the child aspect is getting conflicting information from you. You're saying, you're just a child, you can forgive yourself for whatever part you've played in this. But if you insist on holding people to account for what they've done, the low self is going to say there's something wrong and I can't forgive myself because you can't forgive other people. So please forgive me is the next part of the Hooponopono. Please forgive me and forgive all the others. So that doesn't mean that, you can say that and still come out and saying, well, we have to prosecute 100,000 people as part of cleaning up planet Earth. Maybe what we need is these 100,000 people to come and tell the truth, but without punishment. Without the punishment. What about the ones that did absolute horrible evil? How are we going to let them off the hook? It's more difficult, because man's laws are, if you commit murder, in some places it's a death penalty or otherwise life in prison.
1 through 2.
So does it make sense? I mean, people that have had loved ones killed by people, how are they? That's going to be the most difficult people. How are they going to let that go? You can only do your part and say, all right, well, I know that horrible has been done. I have to let it go for the sake of my child aspect.
You know, regardless of what other people want, I have to let it go. Because in this now moment, I want to be joy. And if I'm too much in sorrow, it's not going to work. I've got to be joy. That's my natural state. Despite everything that's happened, I have to come back to joy. So that my child aspect will emulate me, will have joy, and will be able to get some progress made. The next part of the Hooponopono is you're going to have to be thankful. How are you thankful? Because you've got a path. You're thankful because you've been gifted with a path to find truth. What path are you going to follow of truth? The right one. Is that the perennial philosophy? Possibly. But I'm going to tell you, if you use muscle testing is the gift you can use to find truth. Muscle testing uses your low self to determine truth. Because your low self is totally ingrained in your body, and your body knows what is true and what is false. You, as a spirit with a mind, don't know. You don't know. You know when you hear things that you think are your beliefs, but until you muscle test these things, you don't know, and you've got no way of knowing. You've got to learn muscle testing, or you got to really be able to believe people who have done the muscle testing. So if you want, I'm going to give you Dr. David R. Hawkins and his work. He's all over YouTube. David R. Hawkins. And you could get some of his books if you want. But the whole point of the matter is you have got a tool that can give you truth with the muscle testing. The final part of the Hooponopono is love. And that could be the hardest thing of all, because humans bypass their hearts an awful lot of the time. Mostly because of the trauma that we've been involved with, but also because we go along to get along. And we don't really follow love. We follow things like profit. So that's basically where it goes to. How are you going to let go and just be love? Okay, so if you're going to go sideways on me and say, well, I mean, I have to go along to get along with everything because this is just how I survive, you're not making a giant leap of faith. So how are you going to make a giant leap of faith when no one else does? How much longer do you have? I don't know, 30 more years in this body and then I'm done. No. You're an eternal spirit, and whatever you learn in this lifetime, you get to add next time. Why not take the big leap of faith while this stuff is ready for you and implement it? Laziness. Human laziness. That's all for now. I'm Bob Frizzell.